Hey guys, in this video I'll be going over the manual reversion flight control system and some other emergency features in the A-10. Let's start with the manual reversion flight controls first. So in the A-10, the flight controls are all powered by two hydraulic lines. Now if there ever is a 1 in a million situation where both of your hydraulic lines get shot out, basically you won't be able to control the airplane. And the way you'll know that you have no hydraulic power is by looking at these gauges here. If both your hydraulic lines get shut out, both of these gauges will go all the way down. So if that happens, you need to have another way to control the airplane, so that is what manual reversion flight control is for. Basically, manual reversion allows you to fly the A-10 using manual pulley cables. So to turn on manual reversion, you come over here to this orange switch and you press it down. Now when you press it down, you're going to see the hydraulic lines drain out, and you will begin to have manual control over the A-10. Now you'll notice that the stick will start shaking, and you'll notice that it's not going to be as smooth. It's going to be a lot harder and more jittery to control. And that's because this manual system isn't really meant to allow you to continue your mission. It's just something that is supposed to get you back to the base. Now with manual reversion, you will still be able to move the full rudder pedals and the full elevators. However, you won't be able to move the ailerons. Instead, you can only move the aileron trim tabs. So rolling is going to feel a little bit weird. Another thing that's weird about manual reversion is that the trim switch will be backwards. So if you press nose down on the trim switch, it will actually point the nose up. And if you press nose up on the trim switch, it will actually point the nose down. Also in manual reversion, there is no aileron trim. Now since my hydraulic lines are not actually broken, I can just click the orange switch back to normal flight control. And you can see my hydraulics came back online normally. And now I can fly the plane normally again. Since we're talking about flight controls, we can go over the rest of the flight control panel right here on the left. First, there's the speed brake retract switch. So on the bottom normal position, you control the speed brakes with the thumb switch on your throttle. So you can see I can open the speed brakes like this. If your speed brakes get stuck open, basically you can press this switch forward and the air will close them. Then there's the emergency trim switch. This is just in case your regular trim switch breaks and it doesn't work. You can come over here and flip this down, and then you can use this to trim the plane. Then you have the aileron and elevator disengage. So in the A-10, the left and right aileron are connected and the left and right elevators are connected. So let's say the left aileron gets stuck, that will prevent the right aileron from moving. So if the left aileron gets stuck, you could press this to the left and it will disable the left aileron. So then the right aileron can move freely. So as you can see, when I turn, the left aileron is not moving because I disengaged it, and the right aileron is moving. And if you want to, you can put it back to the middle and then it will work normally again. The last is the emergency flap retraction. So if your flaps get stuck in the extended position, you can turn this up and your flaps will naturally retract. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the fuel flow control switches, which is these ones right here. Basically in the A-10, there is a temperature monitor, and if the temperature gets too high, it limits fuel to the engine. So if that monitor breaks for some reason, the engine will start doing weird things and you'll see the gauges just start to like move randomly. So if that happens, you can disable this, and basically it will disable the temperature monitor and you'll just have direct control over the fuel to the engine. Now in DCS, most of the time it won't do anything. It's not going to make it any difference if it's on normal or override. However, there are some times in DCS where you're at full throttle. If you put the switches to override, you can get a little bit more fuel flow and maybe go a tiny bit faster. So now we have the emergency wheel brake switch. So by default, the wheel brakes are controlled with the left hydraulic system. But if the left hydraulic system breaks, you can pull this lever and then it will let you control the wheel brakes with the right hydraulic system. Now if both of the hydraulic systems are out and you pull this lever, then there is a little hydraulic accumulator in the A-10 and it will let you control the wheel brakes with that, but it will not last very long. It will only give you like 5 wheel brake presses according to the manual. Then there's the auxiliary landing gear lever. If you try to lower the landing gear and it doesn't work for some reason, then you can click this button and then pull this switch out, and the air will force the landing gear down. So lastly, there's the HARS. The HARS is the Heading Attitude Reference System. So this is kind of like a different navigation system. So by default in the A-10, you fly with the EGI, which is the GPS INS navigation system. Now if the EGI breaks, it will automatically switch to HARS, which is kind of like a gyroscope system. Now basically HARS will still let your artificial horizon and your compass work, except it just won't work as well. It will be just going on gyroscopes and compasses. Basically, it's like an emergency navigation system. Now, if your EGI breaks, it will automatically switch to HARS, but just to show you, I can switch to HARS manually by clicking this button.
Autopilot.
Now, you should have been able to hear that warning. Basically, when you're in HARS, it turns off your EAC, so basically you won't have any autopilot. Now, in HARS, you can see that my artificial horizon and my compass are still working, and my HUD still works. However, you can see there is no velocity vector on the HUD. Now, as you do maneuvers over time, the HARS will become misaligned. You can see right now I'm flying straight, but my plane thinks I'm banking right. So what you can do to realign the HARS is just fly straight and level, and then come down to this button that says HARS Fast Erect and press it, and you can see then it realigns everything. There's also this switch here that says HARS SAS. Now the SAS is the Stability Augmentation System, which are these switches right here. Basically, it stabilizes out the airplane to make it smoother to fly. Now, by default in normal mode, if the plane detects that there's something wrong with the HARS, it's not giving right information, then it automatically turns off the SAS. However, what you can do is put it to override, and basically if the plane detects there's something wrong with the HARS and you're in override, it will not turn off the stability system, it will just leave it on anyway. The last thing to talk about with the HARS is that there's a control panel back here for the HARS. Now, I'm not sure if these switches do anything in DCS. Whenever I adjust them, I can't seem to get them to change anything, but I'll just show you what they do anyway. The latitude switch is you just dial in what latitude you're at. Then there's slave and DG. These are the two different modes for HARS. You want to be in slave mode. Basically, in slave mode, the gyroscope will get updates from the compass every once in a while to make sure that it's aligned right. If you put it to DG mode, then the gyroscope will ignore the compass and will just be going by the gyroscope by itself. Then there's this window here. This shows you the alignment of the HARS with the compass. If the line is in the middle, that means it's aligned. This switch is for selecting if you're in the north or south hemisphere. Then this switch is for selecting your magnetic variation. You just put it to the position that you're closest at. Right now I'm in Nevada, and the magnetic variation is like 11 or 12 or something, so I'll just put it to plus 15. Then there's this switch here that says heading. If you press it down, it will force the gyroscope to realign with the compass. You can also spin this switch here to manually rotate the gyroscope. And by the way, if you put it to HARS like I did, you can just put it back to EGI whenever you want. Thanks for checking out this video, and I'll see you later.